Hi everybody! Welcome back to Bentley House. I'm Aira and today we're going to be making a mattress and bed frame. Now I have made several beds for my Addams Family mansion. You can see them here. I made these three and then this one was gifted to me. I thought I'd go ahead and show you beds that I've made in the past before we start making a new one. This one is for Pugsley. As you can see, these two beds are going to match. His is a little bit disheveled, much like a little boy's bed probably would be. And then this one is Wednesday's. I wanted to make this one look a little bit more put together. She has an embroidered spider web on the bedding itself, an octopus on the end, and then an embroidered W on the pillow. This next bed is Gomez and Morticia's bed, and I actually made an entire bedroom suit that matches this bed, and I just wanted to make it look very gothic and then actually rather simple. And this one is probably more short than it should be because of the size of the room, but you know, Gomez and Morticia like to get comfy, so they don't mind. This one was made by my friend Marie, and several people in the last video mentioned that Uncle Fester needed a bed of nails, and so I wanted to go ahead and show you guys this one. It has the bed of nails, it has the guillotine at the top, and then at the bottom, oh, and it actually works, and at the bottom it has a like a stocks. So I keep that one in the basement, but I do want to make an actual bed for Uncle Fester. And these are the things that you're going to need. You can go ahead and pause the video if you want to write down each and everything or go back and look at it later. Some of these may be optional or interchangeable depending on how you want your bed to look. So we're going to start with the mattress, and the first thing I did was look up mattress dimensions. And I'm doing a full-size bed, and so I converted that into feet, which is going to match my inches. I'm making this first foam board cut just slightly smaller than what it should be, and I'm making 3 of those, and those are going to be glued together to make my mattress. And the reason I'm making them slightly smaller is because I am going to be adding some bulk onto it with my quilt batting. Once those are glued together, I'm going to chop off the edges, and this is just going to help it have that more of a rounded look that you see on mattresses. Once those are completely dry, I'm going to mark off 1-inch marks along the edge, and this doesn't have to be exact. You can kind of eyeball it, but these are what's going to help me make the cross sections or make a grid along the face of the mattress, and that's what's going to help me give it that quilted look. And when I got to the ends, I just ended up eyeballing it. If you want to just eyeball your entire grid, that works too. I tried to do it a little bit more mathematically, but in the end I just kind of made sure it looked as even as possible. Once I have a grid that I'm happy with, I'm going to take my long needle-like tool. You can also use like a big like darning needle. Is that correct? Are those curved? I can't remember. Or just a big needle to do this if you don't have a long pointy tool like this. And I'm just going to poke it all the way through all the layers of the foam board at each intersection of my grid. Once that's done, I can go ahead and I'm going to take my quilt batting and I'm going to add it on top of my grid. I'm going to make sure when I put my glue on there that I don't put glue over any of the holes, because I do not want those holes to close up, because later I'm going to have to use my needle and thread to go through those holes. Then I'm going to take my scissors and cut it away from the quilt batting and then cut along the edge so that it is nice and even with the edges of the mattress. I'm going to do 2 layers of quilt batting. If you want your mattress to be really nice and fluffy, you can do less foam board and more quilt layers. I really wanted mine to be pretty stiff, and so I did 3 layers of foam board. If you want it to be extremely floppy mattress, you can just do all quilt batting, and then you don't have the rigidity of the foam board, but you can kind of play around with that so that it meets your needs. Once I have my 2 layers of quilt batting on the top, I'm going to make a long strip, and I'm just going to go carefully around the edges of the mattress, and I want to make sure that the top quilt batting glues onto the side quilt batting. When I start sewing the, I guess I'm going to call them divots on the top of the mattress, I don't want the side batting to come away from the top piece, so I'm making sure that I get glue along the edge of that quilt batting and that I push it together. Once that's on there, again, I'm going to trim it so that it's even with the bottom of the mattress. Now I'm going to take my mattress material. A lot of times this is a very kind of boring material for mattresses, sometimes stripes, sometimes flowery. It's up to you what you want to use, but I'm going to use this striped material, and I just put glue along the very edges of my quilt batting before adding this material on top of it. And the reason for this is I want to use as little glue as possible so that it doesn't show through my fabric. Right now I'm just making sure that the lines of my fabric are straight up and down on my mattress. I don't want to put them on there crooked. And then I'm going to cut around the mattress, leaving about a 1/2 inch around the edge so that I can fold the fabric down over the edge. And I'm pulling it kind of tightly because I want to make sure I get that rounded mattress corner or edge, and I'm just making sure that I push that into the glue. In the end, you won't see this side, it will be covered up, so it's okay if it's a little messy. Now I want to make sure and glue down each corner, and again I'm going to pull that a little bit tightly, put some glue on the inside, pull it tightly so that I have that rounded mattress corner. Once that's done, I can start putting the divots or the quilt look on the top of the mattress. I'm using embroidery thread, and I ended up splitting it in half so that there were 3 strands in each one, but you can leave it all together if you want. I made a 4 times knot where I looped it 4 times and then pulled the knot straight. I wanted to make sure that my knot was big enough that it will not go through the top fabric. And then the opposite ends from the knot, I'm putting both of those ends through my needle, so I have the knot at one end and the other ends through the needle. Now I'm going to look at the back of my mattress and poke the needle through the back so that I have a guide hole, because I can no longer see the holes that I created beforehand. This is going to help me know where to poke through the front of the mattress. And once I have that done, I'm going to go around to the front and pull my embroidery thread all the way through until I can see that divot on the front of the fabric. Once I pull it through, I'm going to use just a little bit of tape to tape it down. Eventually I will glue it, but for now I just want to tape it down so that I can get them done quickly. And I'm going to start in the middle just so I can keep that as straight as possible, and then eventually go out slowly to the sides. This does take some time, but I think the effect is definitely worth it. Once that's finished, I want to make sure and add my glue, because I don't want to take a chance that any of these pieces of tape are going to let go. And I'm just using tacky glue, and I'm putting just a little bit into each hole so that that will solidify the string that's in there. When that's dry, I'm adding some more tacky glue around and in between each of the pieces of string, and I'm going to add some more quilt batting to the back of the mattress. And then again, I'm going to be cutting it flush on the edges. So just like we did the reverse side, this side I'm only adding 1 layer of quilt batting. And now I'm getting ready. Again, I'm just adding the glue to the very edge because I'm adding the fabric and I don't want too much glue going through the fabric. And I'm lining up my lines again. And same as before, I'm leaving about a 1/2 inch of fabric on the edges, and then I'm going to glue it down so that it is flush against the side of the mattress. And this is how it looks so far. So now I'm going to measure how thick my mattress is. Yours might vary depending on your foam board and your quilt batting. And then I'm cutting out a piece of computer paper that is that same thickness, and I'm going to be gluing it onto some of that same fabric. And I chose to make my fabric lines go vertical on the edge just to give a little bit of interest. And I'm making it extra long because I want to make one piece that goes around the entire mattress. And then I'm going to cut about 1/4 inch away from the fabric so that I can turn that piece of fabric over the computer paper. You can do this without the paper and just use fabric and fold it on itself, but I find that using the paper keeps it a more consistent width. Now that that's finished, I'm going to glue it straight onto the edge of my mattress, and I'm trying to pick a start and ending point that's kind of inconspicuous on the side of the mattress. And then I'm going to glue that on with tacky glue again, and just make sure that the edges of the piece are glued up against the mattress. I don't want them because it's supposed to be sewn, I don't want it to be pulling away from the mattress. Now it's time to make the bed frame, and these are some super jumbo popsicle sticks, and very simply I'm just going to put them along the edge of my mattress to make kind of the box that the mattress is going to sit in. I'm going to mark on each end the width of my mattress, and then mark 2 popsicle sticks that are that same width, and then cut the ends off with my easy cutter. These are something that you can find on Amazon. I get questions each and every time. If you search Amazon for easy cutter, you should be able to find something similar to it. So now I have the correct length, and I'm going to add 2 more popsicle sticks, one to the bottom, one to the top, to make the width of my bed frame. And then I'm just going to glue those together and let it dry so that I have a box for my mattress. While that's drying, I'm going to add some more jumbo popsicle sticks to the bottom, and I'm just going to mark them with the pencil and then cut those sides off and glue it back on. This is going to create the little wood slats that are the bottom of the bed. Once that's dry, you can double check that your mattress fits in there. Now my mattress kind of sinks in a little bit too far, so I took some of my scrap foam board. This is going to emulate a box spring. If you want to make a box spring, you definitely can. You can follow those same steps with the foam board and fabric. I just wouldn't add any quilt batting because box springs are pretty hard and tough. But because I added some 3 foam board pieces in there, you can see my mattress is sitting up a little bit higher. Now I'm going to create a template for making my headboard and footboard. I drew a line that marks out where the floor is, and then I want my bed to sit about 2 inches above the floor, so I drew where I wanted the top of the bed to be by making a dotted line. Once I had that done, I was going to take my bed with the mattress in it, because that's going to be the top of my bed, and I marked where the bottom of the popsicle stick box is. Once that's done, I can take the mattress out and trace the popsicle stick that is going to be at the footboard of the bed. This lets me know how I can build my frame around these pieces I'm going to be gluing onto. I also did the same thing for the headboard, which should look very, very similar. Now I'm taping it down, and I'm going to take some parchment paper or wax paper, whichever you have, something that you can see through, and I'm going to tape it above my paper, and this is what I'm going to build my headboard and footboard on. Now these are square dowels. I just got a random assortment of different sizes, and this is to your liking, whatever size you want it to be. I think this one is either a 1/2 inch or slightly smaller than a 1/2 inch. And I'm just going to start building on top of where I know I need to glue these pieces. So you can see I have a piece on either side of the headboard and either side of the footboard. And then I'm just going to create what I want those to look like. So these are some smaller square dowels, and I'm just going to put them in between my 2 larger pieces glue them on with wood glue and allow them to set. I'm making a fairly simple frame for this because it is for Uncle Fester, you know, a guy, so it's not going to be a very fancy bed, but you could get fairly fancy with your creations doing it this way. So now I'm working on the headboard. I want to make sure and put a piece across the bottom there to connect and have another gluing surface. And then I want those to be not laying flat on the wax paper, and so I just put a few pieces of watercolor paper in there so that while they're gluing, they're held up away from the wax paper and glued consistently. So it's kind of like a shim. I'm shimming them up just a little bit. And now I'm just going to let those dry completely. And once they're dry, I can pop them off the parchment paper or the wax paper. And I should have a piece, like if I flip it over, I should have a piece that's flat because we glued it on a flat surface that I can go ahead and take my mattress box that I already created. I'm going to add glue and then it will glue straight onto the footboard. And I'm using tacky glue for this entire project. The important part at this point is just to make sure that you glue it on there straight so that your bed is not crooked once you have all your pieces on. And I'll flip it around in a second. You can see how it looks, and since it's up against that jumbo popsicle stick board, it looks like it has like a completed footboard look. And now we're going to do the headboard the same way. I'm going to flip it over. I have a flat gluing surface, and I'm just going to add glue where the popsicle stick is going to touch, and then add the headboard onto that same box that we created previously that fits the mattress. And now I have a completed bed frame. I'm going to make sure that the mattress still fits in and looks good. I really like the height. I think it turned out really good so far. I found these pieces, they're called tie rack pegs, and I thought they would be good little, are they called finials? That sounds familiar. I'm not sure if that's correct, but those little decorative pieces that you find on top of like beds and like staircases. But I cut those off and then added one to each corner of the bed. And I think it gives it a little bit more of a finished look. So if you've been around for a while, you know it's not an official Bentley House Minis video unless we age this thing. It's supposed to go into the Addams family house, so it cannot go in looking so nice, bright, and new. You can find the instructions for what I'm doing to age this bed on the screen, but I wanted to ask you guys your opinion. I'm going to put a poll in the iCard above. It's the little eye in the corner of the video. How do you think I should finish off this bed? In this video, I'm not putting like a cover on the bed or pillows. I was thinking since Fester's living in an attic, maybe it should just be a plain bed, like they never managed to make up for him, and maybe he sleeps more on the bed of nails in the basement. I'm not quite sure. Let me know what you think in the poll. If you guys decide that he does need a quilt and pillow and that the bed needs to be made up, I will be sure to show you that process in a future video. So make sure you vote in the poll. If you make this, as always, tag me on Instagram. Maybe your attic in your dollhouse needs an old moldy mattress. I'd love to see what you guys create. Please remember, we're still doing the fundraiser for Dollhouses for kids battling cancer. I will again put that video link in the description, and make sure that you check that out. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video and this tutorial. If you aren't already, make sure and subscribe to this channel so you know every time that I upload. The notifications bell will make sure that you get an email when that happens, and also when I go live, the notifications will let you know. I hope you guys have an amazing week, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!